Okay, so the last lecture video as asynchronous format. All right, so this is more the information based on the articles, and then let's look through. All right, so the opening question would be as we are covering the disasters, so the earthquake and tsunami. There are the two disasters and two outcomes. The same hazard, which means the tsunami originated by the disaster, so the earthquake. So we can compare the Haiti and Japan. So in Haiti, in 2010, about the in conservative estimation, 200,000 deaths, while in Japan, around 16,000. So 15,800 and 15,900 and about the 2,800 missing. So there are many of the evacuations. So compared with the Japan, so the Haiti had the less stronger earthquake, but damages were much, much higher. Why? There are many aspects, but compared with the Japan, the Haiti had a weaker the social infrastructure and a weaker the social system, and we can see that there are or the differentiation of the outcomes. And the two stories of the disaster. Story number one, the geophysical view. The disasters are natural, which means these are misfortune and these are the actual nature, and damages are very simply, and the calculated as the exposure multiplied magnitude. So this is the mathematical on the following the equation. And solution is better engineering in the warning system and vulnerability would be bad luck in the bad location. However, so sociological view as we are perceiving as you're using and pursuing for this class. The disasters are unnatural. So there are the natural aspects of the disasters, but hazards are natural, the disasters are social. So same earthquake, like a Haiti earthquake and the Japan earthquake, they are the same earthquake, but there are pre-existing inequalities that will translate and they will decide who will be suffering from more and less. So that would be about the situation. And as we learned before, the pressure and release model and the PAR model. So there are root causes and the power, the authority, and the wealth of the country or wealth of the people, and the political access and the historical exclusion as the root causes and ideological and the fundamental situations. And there are dynamic pressures and as rapid urbanization, weak institutions, and the conflict and displacement in the world situation, in deforestation, and then there are the reserves as the unsafe conditions, including hazardous locations and fragile housing and no insurance and no safety net. Then the hazard plus the vulnerability. So that will result in the levels of the disasters we can see. So this is the applying the pre-existing what we learned. So pre-existing knowledge we have. All right. So recovery is the political as well. The four voices to remember would be on the social production of the disaster. So risk is manufactured by elite decision making, not by nature. And the disaster capitalism is that catastrophe creates a blank slate that elites exploit for profit. And Rebecca Solnit, the elite panic, the authority fear the public more than the disaster itself. And Daniel Eldridge and network did not $8 determine who recovers. So that would be the sources of the inequality. We can see that. So when aid becomes the second disaster, so there were very huge disasters in the Haiti. So as you learned before, a lot of the damages, but in sociological lens, two recoveries collided. International, the humanitarian top-down, and Haitian women's the grassroots network and bottom-up. So as I raised the opening question in the slide before, so there were the top-down system, the international humanitarianism. So there were many of the NGOs and NPOs outside of the Haiti, and there were the influx of the aids from those institutions. But based on the top-down system, the rulers or ruling class decided the allocation of the resources. So those allocations are not very equal and not spread out very equally and very in the but these are just determined by the on the costs of the interest of the elite groups. And the Haitian Women's Grassroots Network on the bottom of the system, the woman they raise the fund and raise the groups, and then they connect to each other and claim the resource allocation. for the aid. So these are the types of the explanation. And gender income, the disasters do not reset the social relations, they intensify them. The patriarchy was not destroyed by the earthquake. It was rebuilt with the international aid. So aid default to the men were more likely to have the aids from the international aid and others, and the camps became very unsafe. And then the reconstruction issues, so these were required more the main labor. So cash for work program prioritized heavy construction excluding women's economic participation in recovery. So adding those situations up together, there were the more intensified gender inequality in Haiti. So the Republic of NGOs, the 6,000 international NGOs, they were US dollar 16 billion pledged. But the problem was the Concordia failure. Agencies competed for the visibility, not the impact, the real aids. And local democratic agency wasn't hollowed out. Citizens became beneficiaries, not the participants. And US peacekeepers introduced the cholera that killed around 10,000 people more than killed. So there are sure, before sure, there were very large amount of aids targeted to the Haiti, and they destined to the Haiti, but it was not very equal. All right, how about the Sri Lankan case? So, though whose cost, where the recovery? So, as I briefly mentioned about the evacuation and the safety zone and the dual burden of the natural disaster and the man-made disaster, there were the new tsunami geography was layered on top of the existing conflict geography. So these were the unique situation. So housing anxiety and the buffer zone. So 615 users descended on months and a second tsunami with aid. The pressure to spend visibly, and because they got aid, these should be spent very visibly so that there are more media exposures and there are more the attractions of the aids from other countries. So that's why. And the buffer zones, 100-meter in the Sinhala south, which is the Shiri Shore, 200 meters in the Tamili in the Muslim east, which are also the seashores as well. So fishing communities, of course, are inland and coastal land cleared for the tourism. So that's the very ironical situation. And when the current becomes land grab. So before the wave, before the tsunami, Tamil Muslim coastal villages and fishing based livelihood, these were the normal situation. But after the recovery as a policy and as the Lee Hill and the Lee Hill situation, the community looked at inland and the livelihood broken new poverty. And these were some problems we could see. In Japan, again, the triple disaster. So very huge amount of earthquake and the tsunami and Fukushima, the nuclear meltdown. These were the triple types of the disaster hit the Japan on the disaster. So why didn't the world, the most prepared country, society, use 3-point as one, so the tsunami as the chance for democratic reform? Maybe the wealth and the capacity are not the same as equity, and the state structure decides who gets rebuilt. So similar to the other situation. So iron triangle holds. So South Korea as well. So the ruling party and the bureaucracy and corporate elites. So the the LDC and the ministries and the KDRN. So these were the main, the three triangle that keeps the bureaucracy. They are very useful and they are very efficient and very well. They are very well capable. The prepared system during the normal situation. But in terms of the emergency, usually they are not very fast in any countries. All right, so 55% of the diagnoses were elderly. So 85% near the elderly and 70.1 popular those in the Onagawa after 2011. So that was very big, huge situation. So as we spent a lot in the previous lecture slide, maybe I will skip the details, but we will see more details in the US. And the limit of the education, so based on that, the tsunami would be very rare, like in South Korea. But education, can knowledge save if you can add on it? So education assumes the mobility, English literacy and resources. Not everyone have all three. So the Khmer tribes have moved to higher ground. So reservation of the policy company collect infrastructure to the Pacific shore, tribal school, elder center, housing, all were in the inundation zone. So Castile tsunami arrives in a minute, no education with our learning. But tribe relocated to school 2.5-mile island inland to Saturday, funded over decades. So some of the schools, they without the education and without the knowledge, they could be located in the seashore and there was in the big risk. But by the education and by the campaigns, they could relocate their schools and they can evacuate very quickly and they could save many of the lives in the country as well. All right, so the summary, the pulling together one pattern, Haiti 2010, Sri Lanka 2004, Japan 2011, and the US Pacific. The state capacity, weak and militarized, very strong, decentralized. And you can see that the examples all together in one table. So let me pass this through. All right, so 5 lessons in the lecture this week on disaster amplify. They do not reset. The pre-existing inequality like the patriarchy or the gender inequality, and these are rebuilt and re-strengthened sometimes. And recovery is a political process. It can be a second disaster. Strong states are not always equitable states, and the education is a structure beneath it. So these are the main types of the knowing we can learn. All right, so these are the Sewol Ferry, the Itaewon Crush, and the Pohang earthquake and the Fukushima spillovers. These are they could be also well applied with that. The Sewol Ferry, we can focus on the Korean Iron Triangle as well. Politicians and bureaucrats in the shipping farms, and then the optimization for the capital night safety, disaster proceeds the wave. So these would be applied to the on our knowledge as well. So Itaewon Crush and Pohang earthquake and the Fukushima spillover. So you may read over for further education, further the information. And so these are others as well. So maybe I can stop over in the next slide, but let me see. Okay. There are two. Let me see. All right, so this is the one. All right, so this is the in-class assignment one, replacing your attendance in the May 4th. So story one versus story two. So geospatial, the geography and the physical, the perspective, and story two is more about more related with our perspective. Saying that. So why don't you choose one disaster? So based on the line number one and based on story number two, and you are adding some prompt, so you are using the AI agent. Why was death toll of something very high? Give me a clear, concise explanation in about 200 words. So you can follow the instruction and submit it by the due date. I remember there was this 25th of the May, and then you will get your attendance record about that. All right. So thank you very much for your attention and see you in class, in the in-person class. Thank you and bye.